Yes, the next speaker will be Krista Kramer, followed by Steve Flynn.
Congressman, welcome.
Thank you.
I was looking at your slide about the percentages of our federal budget that goes into healthcare. I also have worked with disability advocacy and senior issues for 35 years. My question, well, I've also, am one of those people on the front lines of seeing the capriciousness of our current medical system. The difference in access to medical care that you might have depending on whether your condition started before you were 22 or whether you work for a small or large employer. My question for you is, how do you think we should pay for an equitable system of medical care in this country?
Great question. I'm an opponent of Obamacare. I think it was a solution that did not actually accomplish the things that it was intended to accomplish. If you look at Obamacare, it's called the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. Well, it didn't protect the patients and it didn't make healthcare more affordable. In fact, now healthcare is becoming less affordable. People like myself are actually paying more for their health insurance, are paying more out-of-pocket costs, are paying more for their deductibles, and we're getting worse quality of care. So it's actually making it worse. But there are some things that we should do. I think we should actually come to the point, and I think individuals should be responsible for their health care. That's one of the things that I disagree vehemently with Obamacare. I think individuals should be responsible for their health care. But I do think we need to make healthcare more affordable. And the way to make healthcare more affordable is by having more competition with healthcare. One of the things that Obamacare did, which I didn't like, is it actually disallowed or made it more difficult to have health savings accounts. If you think about it, before Obamacare, you could have up to $5,000 in a health savings account. Now you can only have $2,500. And they're trying to get rid of even that amount because that's how they paid for Obamacare, by getting rid of that tax deduction that people had. I think health savings accounts are good. I think having the individual actually own the health care. One of the problems that we have in the United States is that the health care is actually owned by your employer. So if I'm working for an employer, whether I get fired or I move to a new job, I actually have to go and get a new health plan. I think that health care plan should follow you from...
That cost my family $1,024 a month for 2 people when my husband's job vanished.
Exactly.
That became 38% of our gross income.
And that's what happens. So we should have bigger pools that allow people to actually be in those pools, so then your healthcare costs are lower. And then when you move from job to job, or if you have to move from state to state, then you can actually have that low-cost healthcare. The other thing that we should do is allow health insurance being purchased across state lines. We do need reform with the litigation reform. There's a lot of things that we can do that will actually reduce the cost of healthcare. And that's part of the problem, is that if you don't own the healthcare and you don't belong to these bigger pools, and you're not allowed to use health savings accounts, you're not going to be able to do this. The other thing that Obamacare did is that you can't even have catastrophic health insurance. The best healthcare system would be encouraging everybody to have a health savings account, and then allow everyone to purchase catastrophic health insurance, which comes at a really reduced cost. It's really inexpensive. So you use healthcare like you use your car insurance. You know, for the minor checkups, you pay out of your pocket, and for the big expensive things, you cover it with healthcare. Obamacare actually did the opposite. This allowed health savings accounts, and then got rid of the catastrophic healthcare coverage. There's a lot of things. I think if we have a more market-oriented healthcare system, you're actually going to see reductions. So families like yourselves, instead of moving from job to job and having $1,200 extra in expenses, you're actually going to see the same reduced cost. It doesn't matter what job you have. But thank you for the question.
The next question is for Steve, or from Steve Flint, and followed by John Krebs.
I apologize, I'm being really long-winded, so I'm going to try to keep it short so everybody can ask their questions.
Last month, there was a bill introduced in the House called the Healthy Climate and Family Act, which would take funds from carbon caps, and we turn that money to the taxpayer. Have you had a chance to evaluate this concept of using economic incentives rather than regulations to deal with climate change?
You know, I don't know anything about the bill, I apologize, but if you can send it to my staff, we can look at it. I like economic incentives, but I apologize, I don't know enough about the bill, so I can't really answer it. And that way I have to have a long answer, right? Next.
Thanks for being here, sir. My question deals with HR 1526. And I think at one time you were proposing that the state of Idaho manage 200,000 acres of national forest timberland.
Correct.
Do you still support that?
Yeah, it's my bill, I support it 100%.
And what do you think the
I
impact?
haven't changed my mind about my bill yet, so that's good.
What do you think the impact would be on the administrative side of the Forest Service? And also, it had to do with where are those 200,000 acres located? That's very important.
Great question. Yes, what I proposed was that we have a pilot project that every state has the ability to designate up to 200,000 acres and to show that we can actually manage it under state management practices better than under federal management practices. The federal management practices are very difficult to follow because of DEPA and very other things. So, the Forest Service people who are trying to do a good job and trying to do the best job that they can, they have a problem because they have to go through the burden of the federal regulations. We can do it better at the state level. We can do it better if we can actually have those state management practices. So what the bill does is it designates, it allows the governor to appoint a board, and the board will have all the different stakeholders. So we'll have different people that are, and the bill specifically says who has to be appointed to that board. And it will allow them to designate which 200,000 acres within the state and how they're going to manage it. And what they would do is they would manage it under state management practices instead of federal management practices. My experience has been, and I know you don't like this, but that's fine, we can agree to disagree. My experience has been that our state forests are healthier than our federal forests. And you can just, all you have to do is fly over the forest and you can see the difference. There's a line of demarcation between the state forest and the federal forest. I don't blame the federal officers that are managing the forest. I blame the federal regulations that they have to live under. So I would rather have to live under the state management regulations than not the federal management regulations. And then it's a pilot project so we can show if it really works. Instead of doing the entire forest, or the entire 65% of Idaho, I would just start with a small project just so we can show that we can control it, we can afford it, we can manage it. So that's the purpose of it. But thank you for your question.
Congressman, the next question will be from Mr. John Krebs, and I apologize, I got a little out of order, so that's the following Mr. Krebs is going to be Carol and Lee Burkett.
Okay.
Mr. Krebs?
He left. He didn't like my answers.
Okay, the Burketts then?
Thank you. Could kind of switch up on you a little bit. Recently, there was a bill, probably hasn't gone out to you, I'm sure you know. What it deals with,
Try to talk.
deals with mental illness, and just to make things straight, we have two categories. One out of 17 people.
Is that the Tim Murphy bill?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
I talked to him quite a bit about
Okay,
this.
and my question right now to you is, it got lambasted by Pelosi, and it's not going to get out of
I was going to make a really bad mental health joke there, but I won't.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's HR 37117. And my question to you basically, if it ever gets out of, Pelosi retires, somebody, they get it back out, if Tim says it can
I'm not sure why Pelosi was against it. I'm not sure.
There's another bill that was,
Okay,
it's the Democrats and Republicans
Okay.
fighting over something they shouldn't be. I mean, we know,
Tim, just so you know, Tim Murphy is a congressman from Pennsylvania.
he's the only psychiatrist.
He's the only psychiatrist in Congress. So, and he needs, all of us need his assistance. No, so that was my joke, I guess I said it, so.
That's a good joke, because
Yeah.
about 5 people, that's small levels, I don't know how many good for Congress.
But, so, I have not decided whether I support it, but I respect him so much because of his experience and his expertise that I've had my staff look at his bill. I don't know anything about why Pelosi is against the bill, and I'll have to look into that. But we've had some pretty good conversations about it, and he really, it's a really interesting issue. I mean, all of us know what happened just this week with Robin Williams. I mean, I think anybody, whether you're a conservative or a liberal, I mean, I think most of us love Robin Williams and we're saddened about what happened to him. And mental health is a very serious problem in the United States. And so I'm really doing it as much as I can to try to figure out whether there's something that I can support or not.
Thank you.
There's a part in it that advocates involuntary treatment for people who really don't know that they're mentally ill, and her thing was civil rights. All right. Some people need to be treated because they do not know they are mentally ill, they're very careful.
All I can tell you, I don't know if I support it or not, but I can tell you that I trust Tim Murphy a lot more than I trust Nancy Pelosi in mental health issues.
Congressman, I apologize, I do not know how to pronounce the last name of this next person, but the first name is Anton, or Anton, Use, maybe? Who will be followed by Gail Stronger.
Thank you. Congressman, first of all, your staff should be commended. They hear from me on a weekly basis. And the response is just yes.
I thought they told me they stopped taking your calls.
This week they did.
Can I say something about that real quick? I have the best staff in
You're my
that.
time now, so.
Yeah, I'm not taking any of your time. Stop the clock, all right? I have the best staff in Idaho. I do want you to know, and I should have said this in the beginning, that you always hear from me about my politics and my positions on policy, but really the most important work that we do in our office is the constituent services work that we do. And we have offices in Lewiston, in Meridian, and in Coeur d'Alene. Anytime you have an issue with a federal government agency, it doesn't matter if you voted for me or not. That's the question we always get. Well, I didn't vote for the congressman. Can I still get his help? Of course you can. Whatever problem you may have, please call our office. We have the best staff in Idaho. They love what they do. They love their job, and they love serving you. So, make sure that just go online if you have any problems with a federal agency, and just call the numbers are published on our website, and they will hear from you even if it's every week. So, sorry.
My issue deals really with immigration. First of all, I'm a legal immigrant. We came here many years ago. We worked very hard to assimilate, learn the language, and accept the culture. And we are extremely grateful for what we've received from this country. So with that, my question and concern is, it's not just those coming across the southern border, but those coming from Asia, from all over the world. They're coming here, we're paying for it. What we're paying comes out of what portion of that budget up there? I'd like to know. And number two, they're coming in here many times just to claim to be on vacation, to give birth to a child, not their legal status. So those are my concerns.
Okay. I have the same concerns that you do. I want to make sure, I love the legal immigration system. That's why I chose to be an immigration lawyer. I wanted people to immigrate to the United States. I think it makes our nation stronger. I think it makes our nation better. I think it allows us to grow and to be vibrant. If you look at the nations that have actually curtailed their immigration, like Japan, their GDP is actually getting smaller and they're actually shrinking in their population and things like that. So immigration is a great thing. But like I said earlier,